everybody, so welcome to the Velocity podcast, and we've got a very special guest for you today. It's Mr. Jay Alderton. How are you doing, Jamie?
I'm very well, thanks. How are you?
Yeah, not bad, mate. How are you going on with everything that's going on at the minute in the world?
Good. I mean, it's, I would say good. It's not good at the moment. There's a lot of uncertainty and, a lot of people confused. And I think this time it's a case of pondering about what's happening and taking action as best as you can. And, for myself, I'm an ex-British Army soldier. So I very much, when things go wrong, I tend to, really get some clarity and focus and get strong habits and routines. And of course, a lot of what I spend my time doing is just helping others. So helping others understand things better, breaking things down, and most importantly, picking people up during this tough time. Yeah,
absolutely. So you've just touched on there. Obviously, it's the 15th of April today. We're in the middle of a pandemic. Everyone's on lockdown. Most of the people, unless you're key workers, spending time at home. You touched a little bit there on your past as an ex-military. Personally, I've followed you for a number of years through, your 24 hours backwards run, your box jump in Mount Everest, and obviously your competing days earlier on in your career as well. So just to kind of give people who maybe don't know who you are so much, a bit of a background on you and kind of how you got into the fitness industry.
Yeah, very much so. I mean, my background was I was in the British Army for 7 years, left, worked in IT for a year, had an amazing opportunity to work abroad because I had a high security clearance, ended up working in psychological operations for the US government for a year. Wow. Moved from there to Kenya and Somalia, where I worked for a security advisor for the UN. And then in 2012, I was made redundant. And it was very poor timing because myself and my wife had just got a mortgage on a new house, put all of our money into it, and then suddenly get made redundant from this job. At the time, it was the worst thing that could have ever happened to me because of such poor timing, as with everything that's going on in the moment. But also looking back, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because it forced me into following my passion of becoming a personal trainer. In 2012, I stuck £16,000 on a credit card, borrowed my dad's bike and cycled up to this little studio where I got to work. And that was the best thing that ever happened to me. It enabled me in 3 years to become a very successful online and physical PT, and allowed me to open my own dream facility 3 years ago. Because that was, kind of the dream and the goal. Had 3 glorious years with my own facility. Then last year in April 2019, moved everything online. And I spend bulk of my time now helping people transform their bodies and brains. And I help a lot of fitness professionals transform and grow their business.
I was going to say, because you don't just help clients or people wanting to improve the fitness and the lifestyle, you also help personal trainers, coaches improve their business as well, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that I've always done, I think someone has said that I'm a very good documentarian. I very much enjoy learning things, but I also enjoy teaching people what I've learned, because I realized that actually teaching others what I've learned, I have a better understanding of it. So, a lot when it comes to fat loss and everything else like that, when I used to be a competitor, I used to very much share my story and let people know what I'm doing. And that was really kind of influential for a lot of people because people could see what I was doing and I was practicing what I preached and was getting good results. And very much same with business. I very much learn something, teach something, so I get a better understanding of it. People go off and do it and they get a result. So, for myself, it's a natural progression of helping people with their kind of bodies and brains, so to speak, and now very much passionate about helping fitness professionals scale and grow and understand business and marketing.
Yeah. So you do that through, I know you attend quite a number of seminars. You run your own seminars, I believe, as well.
Yeah, I've run my own seminars, and about 7 weeks ago, I launched my app for personal trainers called the Trainer Mind app. In there, we've got our own community. I have a weekly podcast, and we have courses and resources which teach fitness professionals everything that they need to know about business, physical business, particularly online business. And of course, we've been very busy during this time because a lot of trainers had a busy physical business, and now that they've had to pivot very quickly and kind of, beat on their craft with new skills when it comes to digital and online business, and picking up clients online, email marketing, and everything else such as that?
I think I've read a couple of times now, a couple of people have highlighted it. It seems to, I mean, obviously what's happening is awful. It's in no way a positive. But in terms of like the fitness industry, a couple of people have stated that it's pushed personal trainers and forced the hand to kind of move up to date more with, what's relevant, and that's online. It's obviously because there is no way that you can run physical PT at the minute. Face to face is currently dead. So it's forced all these trainers to go, well, I need a source of income, I need to turn online. And the numbers, I mean, I'm still currently working PT, so my face-to-face business is gone. I'm lucky enough to still have an online platform and converted a lot of my clients to there. But for people who have only had a face-to-face business, like you say, they're needing to convert their business online. Yeah,
and also, this could, once again, if you look back to what happened to me in 2012, this could be, to a lot of fitness professionals, the best thing that ever happened to them. A lot of people are kind of comfortable being in a position that they're in. So if they've got a healthy book of clients, there's no incentive to suddenly start doing stuff online, even though that somebody says that, because they don't want to take their eye off the ball with regards to their trainers, or they have yet to see the results from doing that. So this has kind of forced their hand and forced them to learn new skills, which, as with anything, can be a great thing. A lot of fitness professionals that I speak to get stuck in a rut. They start doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. So this, looked at correctly, could be a fantastic thing, because a lot of coaches now are adding many more strings to their bow. And I think one of the best things that you can be as a business and as a coach is adaptable. You have to adapt to changes and always have to have a plan B and plan C. So a lot of coaches, there's a lot of disruption, but if you look at this as a longer period of time, maybe 1, 2, 3 years, a lot of the coaches out there, when they get through this, will look back and say that this was the best thing that ever happened to their business. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's important for people to understand as well that even though face-to-face isn't there at the minute, it's obviously, we're not going to live like this forever. So it's really relevant for people to know that they can continue to run the online business and have that face-to-face platform still and run them side by side. Yeah, and something that I've mentioned a lot over the last few weeks is something I've coined as a phrase, and it's permanent thinking. So many people at the moment during this are holding off on things, waiting for all of this to kind of blow over so they can get back into a routine. And this isn't just necessarily the business. This is their bodies as well, and their brains and everything else. A lot of people are kind of half-assing their workouts because they're waiting for the gyms to open. And what permanent thinking I get people to think about is, if this was now your new permanent, what would you be doing on a daily basis differently? You'd be working out probably more intense at home. You'd come up with more creative ideas to see progression. And this is exactly the same with your business. Like, if this now was the new way of personal training, what would you do today in your business, and what would you change? Because a lot of people, once again, are just waiting for the gyms to open and not being able to think differently and capitalize on this time to say, look, all of these things you should have had in place, and now you need to have those in place. And there's many resources to show you exactly what you need to do. So having that kind of a permanent approach to things, although it's not going to be permanent, is going to still enable you to get that progression. Yeah. So with your new app, and obviously you supporting that online community, have you found the uptake recently a lot higher? Have a lot more people being engaged with it? Yes, very much so. I mean, a lot of people want to learn about online business. A lot of people want to obviously learn about how to create digital products, what things to offer to their clients. And I think most importantly, a lot of people are looking for that kind of kick up the bum, more motivation, and kind of a focus in what exactly they need to do. And that's very much where I come into play with regards to the mindset element of that, getting people to kind of not get so overwhelmed, start focusing on small things rather than everything, and just get some clarity on where they want to see themselves in the next few years in the fitness industry. Yeah. So you just touched on something there, very important, mindset. So you're an author of 2 books now. I've read your first one, but I've not read your more recent one.
obviously mindset's a massive thing for you, and it's something that you really, really, push people to kind of, tips and tricks for new habits, improving the mindset, that kind of thing. So were those habits derived from the military? Is it something that you've just gained over experience in the gym floor, or your own experiences itself?
I think a lot of the disciplines span from the military. And I think, when we talk about mindset, we're talking about so many different factors. But the way that I kind of look at mindset is, and look at your brain as well, is that in order to get a stronger body, you need to put it through stress and tension. In order for you to get, a more developed brain, you need to place adequate amounts of stress and tension on there. So it does get stronger the more that you place on it. It's a SAID principle, which is specific adaptation to imposed demands. I've imposed great demands to my body and brain over the years, and learned a lot about myself. And those things that I've learned, I've written into books, I've written into blogs, and I've written into podcasts too. So it's been a massive journey and an experience. And I'm probably only on chapter 2 of my book of life at the moment, but I very much, have my ear to the ground. And when I say things that resonate with people, and, see how kind of a lot of people do resonate with it. So I tend to delve a little bit deeper into those kind of thought processes. But for me, it's the most important thing. A great quote is that transformation starts from the neck up, not the neck down. So if you get your head right, your body tends to follow.
Absolutely. Yeah, I like that. So just going back a little bit to when you opened your fitness facility 3 years ago, obviously you've said that you've closed the doors on that and focused more online. What was kind of the motivators behind doing it? What were the challenges behind obviously opening a gym? Because obviously the amount of commercial gyms that are out there these days, opening a smaller private gym like yourself, what were your main focuses and challenges around that?
I mean, there's always a lot of challenges. For myself, I'm not the most decorated in degrees and certificates. So it's having a dream about doing something and looking at the ways to do it, and realizing that you can if you put your mind to it and you focus all your energy on it. And for myself, the first kind of port of call for me opening my own gym facility, and I remember this in, I think it was January 2015, was to Google how to open a gym facility, because I didn't have a clue. And I learned, from doing that, wonderful Google, I learned about planning permission. I learned about, everything, and then just applied it. And I think that's the most important thing. It took me from January 2015 to, I believe we opened July 2016. And that was a fully built gym facility from scratch in Chichester in West Sussex. So, it's amazing what you can do, and a lot of people have kind of self-doubt, but there's always going to be problems. I mean, for us, it took us a year to get planning permission. We were getting a change of use. It was on a road which we need to get the council involved. So there's lots of kind of frustration with that. But for myself, I had the right people, luckily in the right place, because I Googled planning advisor who happened to have worked for the council previously. So there was a lot of luck involved as well. And a lot of work. The key to anything is hard work and persistence, I think. And I always had that vision in my mind of having my own gym facility. And I had, the way that I looked at having my own gym facility and business, where I employed 22 staff, and an incredibly successful business as well, was just the evolution of it. I looked at it as a kind of a 3-year business degree. And as you do evolve and grow, you see where the market's going. And I very much saw that, I was doing a lot less work online for a higher generated income. And I would require less staff for that. I'd require less overheads. And then when you kind of crunch the numbers, you think, well, it's only a natural progression that this is going to happen, because we're going to look at this. I'm looking at the business in the next 5, 8, 10 years. And we've come looking exactly a year later from doing it, that was probably the best decision that I've ever made now, because I anticipated where the market was going, and I didn't really anticipate it was going to go this quick, but it is. So once again, luck was on my side, but also a kind of an intuition of where I wanted to go and where I could see things going.
Was it a tough decision to close it, or was it natural for you to go, no, this is the right time to do it?
It was one of the most difficult decisions that I've ever had to make.
Okay.
Reason being is I had business partners as well, so we had to obviously separate from that. I had obviously 22 staff, so that decision would involve redundancies, so it had to be the right decision, and timing as well, because I had built an incredible gym facility which had changed the lives of thousands of people, and to close that down to people who literally, there was never anything like that, and there's still to this day, in and around that place is not another place like that. It's a very, very hard decision, but sometimes you got to think, right, are you doing things for others, or are you doing things for yourself? And actually, sometimes doing things for yourself will actually benefit more others, because you're able to spend more time and help more people. And very, very difficult decisions, but
necessary.
These are the decisions that you have to make, because I think your own happiness is so important, and I think that's so that is so important. If you're trying to please others and you're not happy with things, then there's only a matter of time before something breaks.
Yeah, I think it's a good thing where you can, you've got the experience enough to know, well, actually, this is what I need to do, even if it's not necessarily what you want to do at the time. Obviously, it leads to, like you said, your business in 10 years' time. You need to know that that's going to be where you want it to be in 10 years' time. So that's important.
And also understand that nothing's easy. As with anything, if you're trying to avoid the pain of anything, then you're not going to achieve anything. A lot of people are avoiding, kind of temporary pain at the moment by not doing things, which is actually going to cause you more long-lasting pain in the future. And it comes down to the age-old quote of, the pain of change is a lot less painful than the pain of staying the same.
You love a good quote, don't you, Jamie?
I live my life through analogies and quotes. There's lots of people that are trying to impress people with their words and their vocabulary, and I'm like, well, if I can't explain things to my 6-year-old daughter, I don't know it very well myself, and I don't work very well in long narratives. I work very well in stories, analogies, and quotes.
You can see that through your social media, though, because if you do put a quote on there, it's not a paragraph. It's it's usually a short sentence. Your social media in itself is very simple to read, but also very in depth at the same time, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Which is obviously what you're about with what you just said. You like it to be short and simple.
Yeah, and life should be simple. Life's not about adding things; it's about taking things away. That's something that I've learned over the years as I've got older. That some people want more stuff, and then as you do get older, you realise that you've probably got everything that you already need. And it's about removing things from your life to become a lot more happier. And you have to kind of, unfortunately, go through that kind of process yourself. Some people never actually manage to understand it. But it's taken me probably since 2016, 2017 to really understand it.
Yeah. So you're always growing, aren't you? You're always, like you say, you're always, well, probably the driver behind your second book.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, the whole point of the second book is that, I pushed the boat out too much in the things that I wanted in life. At the end, the end of 2016, my book Meltdown was realized, I had a bit of a meltdown because I ticked every single box for the year, and I was miserable. And it was a realization that I was doing these things for myself, but the whole point of doing things is for yourself and for others, because if you achieve success and there's no one around to celebrate with, what's the point in achieving that success? And I put that kind of to the test in 2016, and it kind of broke me. I spent a good part of 2017 kind of realizing, bringing back these kind of habits and balance of not being available all the time, having time off, and having weekends off, and switch my phone off at 8 o'clock at night. And these are kind of things that I wouldn't normally have done. And that was tested to the limits last year, where, I'd ticked every single box that I did in 2016. You know, I built a new business. My son Archer was born. Did another crazy charity event, wrote a new book, and I had nearly every weekend off, switched my phone off after 8 p.m. and had 3.5 weeks in Australia at the end of it. And, you know, I got more done in that year. And one could argue that I spent less time doing it, and I was a lot happier doing it too. So it just goes to show that more isn't always better. There is a law of diminishing returns in a lot of things, and it comes to understanding that.
That's interesting. Obviously the 8 p.m. thing with your phone down and weekends off, and I think it's hard for, especially in the fitness industry, for people to take that step back and understand that they don't have to put 75 hours, 80 hours in a week to run a successful business. If you scale it and do it correctly, like you say, you were probably maybe working 40 hours a week, but still earning and, you know, pushing the business to where it wanted it to be.
But it's also realizing as well, with a lot of fitness professionals, realizing what the biggest asset is in the business, and that's yourself. And me at 100% is much more profitable and successful than me at 60%. And unfortunately, a lot of fitness professionals that I speak to pre-pandemic, I always mention pre-pandemic, is that you have two kind of boats. You have a PT, which I don't tend to see many these days that are struggling to get clients. Of course, it's a changing environment at the moment, so that's, you know, become a lot bigger now. But a lot of the coaches that I speak to, they're not coming to me saying they're struggling to get clients. They're coming to me saying, I've got too many clients and I don't have any time off. And my kind of response to that is, you know, what got you where you are today won't get you where you want to be tomorrow, because you've spent your entire career saying yes to everything, taking every opportunity as it's come. And now you need to adopt a different approach. You need to start saying no to things. You need to start being selective on your time that you spend, and look at ways to automate things, delegate things. And as I said, learn to say no. That you will not be doing that because there's more important things. You know, if someone's asking me to do a podcast at 9 p.m., the answer is no, regardless of who it is, because what you're saying is that hour that I don't get to spend time with my family is, you know, you're more important than that. And the answer is no, you're not.
Yeah, so absolutely.
It's being clear on that. And it all depends. You know, there are people out there, and I built my entire career from working 7 days a week and really, really hard, but I didn't have 2 kids at the time. So every person is different, and what you want to get out of life as a coach, and, you know, what you define as success is totally personal preference at the end of the day. But one thing that I have noticed very much so is that there is a limit to what you do. There is a difference between working hard and working smart. We all need to work hard. But your definition of hard work can be very different to other people. And it all depends on the measurement in which you see that. And my measurement is that, you know, essentially from the business, it's the people that I've helped, it's the profits that I see, and it's how happy I am doing the job that I do. Yeah.
So something that I really love that you've posted a few times on your social media, and it's 3 pictures of you. One is where you're absolutely shredded competition. One is where you were in like the top end of your bulk, where you were, I wouldn't say overweight, but you're obviously holding a lot more than you were shredded. And then one was you like day to day. And under each picture you've put, like, obviously you look amazing in the one where you're really lean. In the middle, you were overindulging but happy. But the one on the end where you're in good shape, but you're not completely shredded, it's the best where you are physically, mentally, etc. What was the kind of driver for you to do competing in the first place? And looking back on it now, do you regret it? Would you do it again? All those questions in one, really.
Yeah, I mean, great question. I think one of the most important things is that never regret anything that has happened to you, good and bad, because, you know, there is always an opportunity to learn from it. And I've never learned from my successes. I've learned from my failures. And the more failures I can make, the more success I know I'll get, because I'll get more experience. So, you know, at first, if we're looking at the other end of the extreme spectrum of being extremely lean, you know, I'm a competitor at heart. You know, I don't tend to compete with others. I tend to compete with myself. And, for myself, when it came to bodybuilding and dropping body fat, it was very much a mental game, which I like, because you find out the most about yourself in tough times and periods of uncertainty, very much like we're in now. So to push myself beyond what I thought capable is always very powerful, because you learn a lot about yourself. I felt that, I competed at a very high level. I became a European champion, competed at the World Championships. And as my family grew and my love for gin grew as well, I realized that I wasn't willing to sacrifice every part of my life for competing. But I still wanted to push myself kind of physically and mentally into other things. And I've kind of done that with business. I've kind of done that with the charity events. But at the same time, before my first daughter came in 2013, I kind of went on a bit of a bulk where I normally sit around 203 pounds, and I went up to about 234 pounds. And competition weight's usually for me about 182 pounds. So a lot of weight. And also, once again, I would never go back to that kind of weight because of my habits that I have in place now. But I also learned a lot about myself. My actual business that year in 2013 doubled, because one of the biggest things that I realized from that was, I let myself go a little bit, but I stopped caring so much about the way that I looked and cared more about how my clients looked. So actually, that 2013, my daughter came and I had massive success with my clients. So if I can reflect back on 2013, that year showed me that selflessness equates to success. Giving things up for other people can be immensely valuable, not only for yourself, but for others too. And of course, there is a balance between all that, because, if you are extremely selfish, you can achieve a lot of success, but usually you find that there's nobody to share it with because they've all left. And if you are extremely selfless and all you care about is other people than yourself, then that's kind of selfish, because if you're not looking after yourself, then you're going to kind of put yourself into an early grave, because you're not prioritizing your own health and happiness for others, and that is a recipe for disaster too. So it comes down to that balance point of knowing where you sit on that scale of selfishness and selflessness. And you might be in that extreme selfish kind of mindset at the moment, which means that you have to be a lot more selfless. And if you are very, very selfless and kind as a person, sometimes you need to tell people to get lost and focus on yourself. So it's knowing where you are and learning from all of those experiences. So that's kind of what being either end of the spectrum kind of showed me, is that it gave me the confidence that I can achieve things. And of course, sacrifice usually equates to success to a certain extent. To compete at a high level gave me more confidence as a coach and a trainer, that I knew what I was doing. To push myself mentally in the charity events, and that enables me to have a lot more confidence to talk about mindset, to talk about achievement, to talk about things that you are willing to do and are not willing to do. And success always leaves clues. So I'm always on a constant lifetime pursuit of making lots of mistakes and failures and learning as I go along.
Yeah. So you touched on that. Obviously, you've got, when you competed, you didn't have, I know you said your daughter was born, but obviously you've got 2 children now. You've got other habits, business has progressed in lots of different ways. Does that mean the shorts are hung up for good, or do you think you'd maybe revisit it one day?
I always say never, because I still train. I'm still in great shape, but it's not I can't see it being my focus at all.
It's not an aspiration.
No, it's too much of a sacrifice for not really much of a benefit, other than just saying, I've won something. But when I push myself in charity events, I have to commit just as much time and effort. So many more people benefit from me pushing myself in, down that route. It inspires people, which, competing at that kind of level does get a certain level of inspiration from others. But the ability to hand over a £25,000 check to my local children's charity feels better than any kind of trophy that you can achieve on stage. And it has a massive benefit to others. So as I say never, but At this moment in time, the answer is no.
It's a no.
They are hung up pretty high at the moment.
So you've mentioned a couple of times charity events. So you hold multiple world records now, I believe.
One unofficial record and one official Guinness World Record. Yes.
So which is the official? Which is the unofficial?
Unofficial is pushing a 140 kilo sled for 24 hours.
Right.
There was a Guinness World Record of I believe it was 24 kilometers in 24 hours, and I think I did 25. But that was a team of 4 people, and I did 25.7 kilometers by myself
on your own.
On my own. So
why is that not a record?
Because it comes down to education. I had submitted the Guinness World Record for it 2 weeks before doing it, and it takes 12 weeks for them to get back to you. So I'd obviously completed it, and 10 weeks later they got back and they asked for certain amounts of evidence, and it is you have to submit a lot to Guinness for them to accept the record. So I had basically a time-lapse recording and a bit of footage, which wasn't sufficient enough for them to deem it as a world record. And, the one that I just got for box jumping Mount Everest, it took us 3 months of evidence submitting and witness statements to get. So I'll give Guinness their dues. They are very, very thorough. We submitted about 46 hours of footage, 16 witness statements, and still took 3 months to get through.
Bloody hell. So you also got the backwards running as well. Was that not a record?
Yeah, I missed out on the Guinness World Record by 8 minutes. The record was, I think it was 100 kilometers run backwards in, I think it was 22 hours and 8 minutes or something like that, and I did it in 22 hours 16. But the goal was to run constantly for 24 hours. So
not for a time.
Not for a time. I mean, it's nice to have, and I was very close to doing it, but I think if I'd pushed myself then, I probably wouldn't have made the entire 24 hours. So finished 24 hours, and we managed 109 kilometers running backwards.
Wow. So you've done, is it 3 charity events you've done?
Yeah, 4 in total. I mean, I did a small one for combat stress where they have their march in March. I think it was a couple of years back where, you meant to run 10 miles, and I thought that was quite, it's a bit easy really. So I thought I'd shoulder carry somebody for 10 miles. And I realized in training it was a bit difficult to carry someone, not necessarily for myself. Yeah, it'd be difficult, but it's very uncomfortable for somebody else to be on my shoulder, in excess of 4.5 hours. So I managed to fill a sandbag with about 85 kilos of sand. Did the 10 miles and then dropped that down, and then I had a group of people to run the actual 10 miles as well. So it was 20 miles in total, but that was for combat stress a couple of years back, and then obviously last year was box jump Mount Everest.
So which one was the hardest?
I would say kind of a combination. I mean, I think one of the most difficult was definitely box jump Everest, because it was just so intense. The fact that, I couldn't really have that much rest. What we'd calculated was that in order to get the record in 24 hours, we'd need to do 10 box jumps a minute, every minute for 24 hours straight. And of course, that didn't give us any time in case there was injuries. So we had to do more than that. So what we ended up doing was 13 box jumps a minute for 45 minutes, 15 box jumps a minute for 5 minutes, and then have a 10-minute break in between. So having to do a lot more in a lot less time, but then enabling us a 10-minute window each hour to, sort injuries out, change clothes, and all that kind of stuff.
So interestingly, you said we then, but it was just you doing it, I believe. Or do you mean the team around you?
A lot, all the events that I do, it's always a we. I couldn't do these without the support of people around me. I wouldn't have achieved any of them without the support of my team around me. So to have people recording, to have people, you know, like to have a doctor on call to sort out any kind of niggles, to have a physio on board to sort out any kind of cramping or that, and just to have those people around you. It's never a single thing success. It's always a joint achievement, because at the end of the day, I'm just jumping on a box. I've just
24 hours.
Yeah, but I've just got one thing to do. The people
I get what you mean.
The people around me have got so much more.
Yeah, I like that. I like that view on it. So, any more in the future you've got planned?
Yeah, I mean, not confirmed. I like to do one every other year. This year's very much focused on business and surviving this pandemic. And next year will probably be something. I don't know what it is yet. But it may be something. I don't want to commit to anything yet, because I don't think I've had anything in my head that's made my heart sink yet. I think telling people box jumping that I was going to box jump Mount Everest was quite a scary thing to say, because a lot of people didn't think I could. It was possible, or I could do it. So we will see. But there is a space in the diary for November 2021.
Oh, I'll keep an eye out. So another person who likes doing crazy stuff like that is Ross Edgley, and obviously fellow author like yourself. He does more strongman based stuff rather than endurance, but I suppose he mixes the two, doesn't he? Have you ever thought about doing like a joint one with him?
Yeah, there was a discussion a couple of years back that we were going to do something. I mean, Ross, say strongman. I mean, he swam around the entire British, the whole of Great Britain. I think that was one of the most ultimate endurance feats I've ever seen. But yeah, I mean, I think we both run our own races. We talk a lot, we chat a lot. We've got a podcast next week, which I'm excited about. And I'm loving his new book at the moment. It's fantastic. There's lots of things in there which I can relate to, especially when it comes to stoicism and mindset and the way that the body adapts to change, which I think is important.
So moving on a little bit, so obviously we're a training provider. We try and give our students as much knowledge as possible, which is obviously why I'm doing this with you, to hopefully you can pass some of your knowledge on to them. What kind of advice would you give to newly qualified personal trainers?
I think as with anything, when you first learn how to drive, you only really learn once you've passed your test. So, get your test done and then focus on listening, learning and applying. And never think that you know everything. There's this, if you ever want to Google it, it's the Dunning-Kruger effect. I see a lot of coaches that, they act as if they know everything, but really they're just new on their journey and they're a bit overly confident. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. But I think one of the biggest things that I've seen in this industry that people aren't doing is helping each other, collaborating, and communicating effectively. Seems to be a lot of coaches that follow other coaches, but they're not the ones that pay your bills. It's your clients that pay that. So focus on them, focus on who you can help, and apply yourself. Knowing and doing is not knowing and not doing is the same as not knowing. So constantly make mistakes, constantly learn, and invest in yourself, I think is one of the most important things. The return on investing in yourself is exponential. So make sure any money that you do bring in, that you are allocating a good percentage of that for your own self-education and self-improvement. I
think one of the things you touched on there really important is community. Having that community, whether it's other fellow personal trainers, any other fitness professional really, because we're all in the same boat at the moment with everything that's going on. So now more than ever is a time for people to kind of join together and try and help and support each other as much as possible. So I suppose that's what you do through your app as well anyway, isn't it?
Yeah, we've got a very strong community. We've got about 1,500 personal trainers on the app now. The community is free as well, so you can jump on there, ask questions. I'm in there every day answering them.
Cool.
We've got the podcast every week, and we've got some free content on there as well. And yeah, it's a growing community, and everyone on there is helping each other, supporting each other, and getting the right answers, I think, which is the most important thing. And I've got a lot of exciting things in the pipeline with regards to courses to really help coaches as well to continue with their training.
We'll make sure we link that in the video, so obviously our guys can jump on there and maybe join the community as well if they want to.
Yeah, awesome.
So you've obviously stated that you love reading, quotes, etc. Have you got like a top 3 books or a couple of books you would really recommend to read, other than your own, obviously?
I would say from a personal trainer's point of view, a great one would be Oversubscribed by Daniel Priestley. He's just got a brand new version of that out, and that changed a lot in my business. It kind of teaches you about, getting a queue of clients lining up for your business and getting people to come to you rather than you go to them, and how you go about doing that. So that's a very, very good book to read. Mindset by Carol Dweck, a very, very important one for people to read, because it teaches you very much the difference between a fixed mindset and a growth mindset, and just the ability to know that you're not stuck in your current position and you can always get better. That's a very kind of big one that I'd recommend. And I think another important one, which a lot of coaches would get a lot of value out of, is Atomic Habits by James Clear, teaching you exactly how to form good habits, how to understand habits, and especially during this time, it is a bit of a game changer of a book to get you to realize some of the patterns.
So speaking of books, is there a third book on the horizon?
There is indeed. I have been speaking with the publishers about releasing one, I believe, around March, April 2022. It will be one talking about mental toughness, and I'll be hopefully interviewing some of the top people in the world about it. So it will not be just my talk about it. It'll be some of the top people in the world to really get an understanding of what being mentally tough is. And I think a lot of people have a kind of a misunderstanding when it comes to being mentally tough. They look at, special forces soldiers and everything else like that. They don't look at people who have, had everything taken away from them in their life, have risen up from poverty and defied all the odds, and there's so many stories which I'm going to be sharing from it and perspectives, and a lot of it will be broken down through different thoughts and feelings that people have and how people have overcome them. So if ever you are feeling something, be it resentment, be it envy, be it jealousy, that you'll have the right manual to go to that feeling and find ways of getting through it.
Sounds very interesting. That's for sure. What do you find the writing process like?
Tough. I'm not a natural writer. I failed all my GCSEs in English. I have to rely on Grammarly to do my posts. So for me, it's a real challenge, and it first starts with the commitment, and the commitment is usually telling people when it's going to be launched, because then it holds myself accountable. As with any kind of habit and routine, I have this 1 chapter a day analogy where you focus not necessarily on 1 chapter a day, but committing to something for a period of time every day without fail. A lot of the time, it's a minimum effective dose of 10 minutes, because that's enough time to read a chapter a day. And if you committed to read a chapter of a book a day, the chances are you get 30 to 35 books read in the year. But for myself, my last book process was to sit down at 6 a.m. With the same, I had a can of Red Bull, a pot of green tea, and the same 1 hour binaural beats music on. I'd switch all electronics off, and I'd just type for 1 hour straight. And then as soon as the timer goes off, that's it, down tools for the day. And I committed that for about 2.5 weeks, and the outline of the book was done. So that was my kind of book writing process for the last one.
Was it easier to write the second than it was the first?
The first, I had a lot of help. And what I mean by that was that I had invested in a booksmith, and what that helped me with was I wasn't a natural writer. I was a very good talker. So every Monday we jumped on a Zoom like this, spoke for 1.5 hours, had my brain well and truly picked on every chapter. My words were transcribed and then kind of jigged around by the booksmiths. So that was a very powerful thing because I was able to talk my book and have it kind of written down. But this one, of course, I wanted to write myself. And, you know, both ways were, I learned a hell of a lot. And I couldn't say which one I thought was a better book because I both think they're two very different books. But it's finding the best way of doing it. That was the best way for me to do it 3 years ago because I was building my gym facility and I was very busy and literally didn't have the time to write because I'm not a natural writer. So to use one of my skills of being able to talk and then get somebody to transcribe that into text was powerful.
Made more sense, I suppose, as well, didn't it?
Yeah.
Timing.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
So just a couple of things that you're currently offering. So you've got the J8 challenge, which you run every so often, don't you?
Yeah, I mean, we've just closed the doors to our J8 Fat Loss Challenge. We run 4 to 5 a year. We have a centre shred as well, which I love because last year we paid for somebody's Christmas, which was amazing. You know, we had £3,000 worth of Amazon prizes and £1,000 worth of food, which we delivered just before Christmas, which was amazing. Oh, wow. Yeah, we have that. I have my Train with Jay. It's a monthly training group for men and women to help them. At the moment, you know, we're keeping them accountable, doing lots of home workouts and live streams, and you know, we've got a load of programs on that, and that's trainwithjay.co.uk. And of course, one of my biggest projects is my Trainer Mind app, which is helping a lot of fitness professionals scale and grow their business, which you can download for free on the Apple Google Play Store. You just got to search for Trainer Mind.
Yeah. You've also got something where it helps people edit videos.
I have, yes, mobile video mastery. I mean, I've got a lot of digital products coming out, especially mastery ones. I've got a social media one coming out. I've got a content one coming out, and a product launch one coming out soon. But my best-selling and biggest product is mobile video mastery. Something that I'm known for the last few years is editing.
I was going to say,
video.
Yeah, you've got a natural talent for editing, mate. I've got to tell you, some of the stuff that you put out there, and you do it all on a mobile as well, which is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think speed's one of the key. Creativity and speed, especially when it comes to social media, is the key. I've had for many years, people ask me how I do my videos. You know, in the last year, had about, I think, 22 million views on Instagram, and I've just joined TikTok in the last 6 months and had 50. I think just about to hit the 50 million view mark on content on there. So I'm now teaching people how to edit video and understand video so they can kind of scale and grow their own. And a lot of businesses and people who are just having it as a hobby are seeing massive results as well on their social media because they're getting more attention. And, you know, especially with fitness professionals, more attention, more eyes on equals potential for more business.
I was going to say, if the videos that you create yourself, they're very, you're intrigued, you want to watch it. It's entertaining and it's very clever. You know, you got the floating trainer and how you're transitioning and freezing from one position to the next and so on. And that's valuable to not just fitness professionals. It could be valuable to lots of different businesses online. So I suppose you're spreading the market really with that as well, aren't you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a massive passion of mine. I'm very passionate about content. I know a lot of people struggle with it. And once again, you know, I love teaching people, and I love it when somebody, you know, has gone through the course, start seeing an uptake in clients and business, and really start enjoying social media because they can have an idea and they can, you know, create something with it. And I think that's the most important thing with anything, is having the idea and not relying on other people to do it for them, just being able to take action and do it themselves.
Absolutely, yeah, brilliant. I think you know, when a lot of learners newly qualified or beginning, they've already qualified and they're asking questions later on, they always say, who's the best person to follow on social media? And I always give them 3 names: it's yourself, Phil Lerney, and Ben Carpenter. They're the 3 names that I always give them. And the first one they always look at is yourself, and I always get the same reply: "His social media is brilliant." And that's what I get from everybody. So that's testament to yourself, mate. So it just goes to show that it's valuable to a lot of people, and a lot of people feel the same way. That's
brilliant to know. And, you know, that does keep me focused on doing the best that I can with the content that I have. So that's an amazing compliment. So thank you for that.
No, that's okay. That's the truth, mate. And last question: what's the plan for the rest of this year? Obviously, pandemic, hopefully getting better as the weeks and months go on, but kind of, have you got business, personal plans for the rest of this year?
Yeah, I mean, looking forward to getting back to connecting with people. Gonna hopefully, once all of this finishes, do a big kind of seminar, mentorship day in October. I've got, as I said, my new digital products, which are going to be launched in the next couple of months, which are going to help a lot of people. And hopefully by August, September, I'll be opening up my new offices, which will be having a filming studio and seminar in there.
Wow.
which is really going to help me level up a lot of the content that I'm going to be doing, and most importantly, just the seminars and that are a big thing for me to really help fitness professionals just understand all of this business malarkey a lot better, have a community of people around them, and have a base really that they can go to get the answers.
Brilliant. So I think that's everything, Jamie. So what we'll do is, on the bottom of this video, we'll link all of Jamie's social medias, his J8 challenges, and all his trainer mind and things like that, so you can access that and join the community. But aside from that, thank you very much for your time, Jamie. Hope a lot of our learners and listeners get a lot of valuable content from what you just said. I've learned a little bit as well, which is brilliant. And maybe get you in part 2 post-pandemic and have a catch up then, if that's okay.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome, Jamie. Thank you very much for your time.
Brilliant. Thank you.
Cheers, mate.